Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Hello and welcome to this week's Countryside programme with Kiri Kermode and myself, Simon Clark, and a little bit of it revolving around the south of the Isle of Man, Cregneash. A lot going on, and they're preparing for their summer season.
They are. The doors are open for Easter extravaganza down there with the traditional egg rolling, and I can't wait to take part.
Yeah, it's a funny event, the egg one, isn't it? Because it's not the softest of ground normally, is it?
It certainly isn't, especially when they've had the big heavy horses on it in the winter too.
Yeah, but it's all part and parcel, and it's just that they're putting something on that the older generation can go and admire them old buildings and the way that they're kept there and the machinery, and the kids have got something to do as well. So it
was a great family day out.
It is. And also I catch up with Lara Howe. Remember we went to the Calf of Man last year just for the day, Kiri, didn't we, with Lara showing us around. Well, the wardens, of course, have been off the calf since November, and they returned last week there, and Lara went over with them, so I find out the latest whether there's any damage or what's going to happen this summer there. And also Mike Clegg, he's the author of a new book that's out called Reapers, Clogs and Pulpits, which looks back at the history of the Kelly brothers, from Kurt Michael, really one of the big builders from a few years ago here on the Isle of Man, and their work goes back over hundreds of years ago, where they were doing work for the pulpits and the benches in the local churches around the Isle of Man. So Mike explains about the book and the history of Kelly Brothers as well. So here we are, this week's Countryside.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Kiri, we had a trip last year, didn't we, to the Calf of Man with our host Lara Howe.
It was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it?
We had a great time there. She showed us around. We spoke to the wardens, of course. Well, during November, the wardens head off the Calf of Man. And in March, they return and find out if there's any maintenance to do, set up the nets, and look forward again to another season looking after the birds and the wildlife on the calf and keeping track of them. Well, I caught up with the Marine Officer for the Manx Wildlife Trust, Lara Howe, to find out how her trip went, bringing them back to the calf.
Yeah, absolutely. We went out to take the wardens over and had a few extra days on the calf than we'd originally planned, but it was good.
This is the start of a new season. Obviously, I think it was Nathan and Aaron who were the wardens last year. They, I think, finished their stint in November. What's happened since then?
So they've gone home and had a bit of a rest, a well-deserved rest, and they've very kindly or stupidly decided to come back and join us for another season. So they're over on the calf now, getting on with calf life. What happens during that period on the calf? Is there anybody there to look after things, or is it just so desolate and animals and wildlife are all hibernating or sheltering? Basically, we don't have anyone on purely because the weather conditions are usually so bad we couldn't do food runs for the wardens, so they would be pretty much left to fend for themselves. There's always wildlife and things happening over there, but we basically would worry that we wouldn't be able to keep an eye on the wardens and keep them fed. The process of a third helper for the wardens is underway at the moment, is it? Yes, it is. The closing date is now up, but we're looking to have an assistant volunteer warden to go out and help with the work on the calf for this season. What will their role involve? Similar to the wardens that are going to be there? Yep, it'll be helping them to get whatever jobs done that they've got to do, mostly with the estate warden, working with Nathan, doing whatever needs to be done really, whether it's helping with the bait eradication programmes, undertaking regular maintenance of vehicles, helping with any bird monitoring, the daily logs where we record any bird species we see on the day and things like that. So it'll be more of the same work, just helping to get it all done really. What about when you finish there, nobody's there from November, just sort of gone back there? I mean, it's through the really rough times of the winter, is there ever much damage caused to the calf when you go back there for the first time? Some years there is, and some not so much. Depends on the extremes of the weather. This year we've had some damage to two of the stores, one in South Harbour and one in Cow Harbour. We've lost quite a lot of slates, so work's begun on that already, and generally just making sure that the observatory is still standing and things like that. But we fared fairly well which is good to see.
Last time I was on the calf, you had the decoy puffins and everything in action, and Manx Whispers had it that they paid dividend.
Well, yes, it turned out to be a fairly good year. We had a lot more sightings of puffins around the calf, and we actually got a sighting of one land on the calf for the first time in years, so that's really, really exciting. So the puffins will be going back out at the beginning of April, ready for the new season.
Is there anything else that you'd like to see that you can do out of the calf, or are you fairly stretched with the resources you can have out there at the moment?
Obviously, everything's stretched wherever you look, and the calf's no different. But we're hoping that this year, with some kind support from the general public who've pitched in through crowdfunding through the supporters group for the calf, they've raised some money to help us buy nest boxes. Well, the materials to make nest boxes for the Manx shearwaters. So we're hoping to install some of those over this year, ready for next year, to enable us to be able to access the chicks and the adults in the burrows, so that we might be able to tag them in the future and to generally monitor chicks and numbers like that. So that's really useful. So that's something we're taking forward this year.
What about the general, obviously that to the general public, by the sound of it, has got a really keen interest on keeping the calf a man as it is, in a way, and making it thrive in the world of wildlife.
Absolutely. We have a lot of public support, which is great to see, and a lot of that comes from volunteers as well who come over and help. For example, when we went over this last week, 2 of our long-term local volunteers came over and helped open up and things like that, and their support is invaluable to keeping the calf going. Obviously, money all helps to buy things that we need, but we also need more helpers on the ground to do stuff. So we've got a trip over on Saturday with some volunteers from the Civil Defence who are coming out to help clear the pond, for example. So we have a lot of support from the public, which is really, really great and enables us to do a lot more work on the calf than we would generally be able to do.
The decoy puffins, to attract them back on the island, I mean, is the scope for, I don't know, putting decoys of something else to try and attract other birds or fish, what have you, to come round to the calf?
Possibly. There's always different things we can do. We're talking about potentially building a wall to encourage storm petrels to come and nest on the calf. We have them obviously in the area, and we suspect they are breeding on the calf, but we haven't got confirmed proof yet. So some work will go towards trying to do that this year, and possibly, like I said, if we can get some funds together, we'll build a wall or maybe a cairn that they like to nest in, stone walls, that kind of thing. There's also hopefully other work, maybe more on the land management side of things, where we're going to try clearing some of the bracken, particularly the dead bracken underneath, to see if that makes a difference in terms of where birds are nesting or not. So there's lots of things we're going to try this year to see if we can encourage more of our birds to come back to the calf to nest.
Can the public get involved in coming over to the calf and maybe helping out for a few days, or how does that sort of thing work?
Absolutely. Space is very limited in terms of people staying overnight, but we do have some beds available, and if people want to come out for the day, that's usually fine as well. So there will be things coming up on Facebook through the Calf of Man Observatory Facebook page, where we'll be posting about volunteer opportunities and things like that. But people are always welcome to get involved and get in touch if they want more information. There's different things. We're obviously trying to do some more stone walling work and get some more of the walls finished and things like that. There's ditch clearing. There's loads of things people can get involved in if they want to come along. Best bet is either get in touch with me or to get in touch with the wardens on the observatory through the Facebook page.
Marine Officer for the Manx Wildlife Trust, Lara Howe, and a couple of events that are coming on of significance. Simon King, who of course is off the television, the big Cat Diary and Springwatch and Planet Earth. He'll be on the Isle of Man Friday the 27th of April. He'll be doing a lecture there. And plus the Hedgehog Tunnels. You'll find out more about that as well. That'll be taking part on the 28th of April as well, running for the whole week. And it helps, you can get involved with that as well, getting little tunnels and sponsoring them as well to look after the hedgehogs. So be good.
They're absolutely lovely little animals, aren't they? And I suppose they'll be coming out of hibernation now too, so we have to watch out for them on the roads.
Yes, it's a bit busy time, I suppose, now. I suppose they've had the right idea keeping out of this cold spell that we've had, but things are looking up, and it's just one of them great things, I think, and being part of the Isle of Man, where people want to help and preserve them and get involved in these things.
Organisations like this do such a great job of protecting the wildlife on the island, and it's beautiful, isn't it? You know, wherever we go, we can see something. It's on our doorstep. We are so very lucky.
Yes, we are. And of course, the views from the Carf o' Man back to the Sound, and not far up the coast from there, Cregneash.
Yeah, and Cregneash will be opening its doors for Easter holidays. I went along to speak to Helen Ashcroft to see what events they had coming up, along with a traditional egg rolling competition.
Yeah, we're opening on Good Friday, so you go in with a bang, basically. And so
With the offer of bring a friend, you've got different kind of ticket opportunities as well this time.
this weekend at Cregneash, we're opening from 11 till 3 as a part of our winter opening for this shoulder season for visitors that are coming off season. And this weekend, we've got a special offer that residence pass holders, like season pass holders, can bring a friend for free.
So it's a good opportunity for people to shake off the cobwebs of winter and get out and about again, really.
Yeah, that's it. And go and have a look at Cregneash. And obviously, we'll, hope for a nice bright and breezy day. If not, we'll have the fires going anyway, so...
Yeah, it's always really cosy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cottages, they've had quite a bit of renovation work recently, been rethatched and...
Yeah, so Cairns Farmstead has been, the main buildings of that had a thatch put on it last year, and Harry Kelly's has had a nice new coat of whitewash and was rethatched over the winter, and it looks really nice. It's the 80th anniversary of the opening of Harry Kelly's as a museum, and like the start of the museum at Cregneash this year, so Harry Kelly's cottage looks really nice and shiny for that. So
They do stand out, they are gorgeous, and people come from miles around to see them, don't they?
yeah, that's right, absolutely. So yeah, and especially we've got this special year, so yeah.
With Easter coming, you've got a few good events coming up. The traditional egg roll, and I imagine you'll be inundated yet again.
Yeah, let's hope so. So it starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Cregneash, and little visitors are encouraged to bring their home decorated eggs. We really like the ones with a Manx theme. That's just a little tip for anyone coming along. So if you've got a Viking or a Lockton, they tend to be very popular with the judges, and so that's judged strictly at 2 o'clock. And yeah, people are encouraged to bring their own decorated eggs, and then we've got an egg roll at 2:30 and another one at 3:30. And 3 o'clock we'll have a little welly walk around the village where we'll look at all the farming and what the animals that are in the fields, and talk about the sort of the farming year at that time, and maybe have a little wish at the well and things like that as well.
But it's giving the children an opportunity to get out, isn't it? The fields could be really still muddy by then, but it won't put them off.
Well, hopefully they could burn off a bit of that chocolate they've been having over the Easter weekend and get everybody out of the house. I'm sure people will be desperate to by then, so... Yeah, and it's great. It's outdoors. It's nice and bright and breezy, and people really love it. It's very popular with families, and everybody always has fun. There's loads of Easter eggs to be won and competitions, and it's just a nice day out.
It's definitely worth getting the wellies on and getting down for that. With Easter coming, Helen, will also be the spring lambs, I believe, as well.
Yeah, we've got a few little bleats coming from fields at the moment. There certainly will be some lambs for people to see when they come egg rolling. Very cute little Lockton lambs. The lambing season is well underway, and Pete, our farmer, is very busy with that at the moment, which I'm sure you can understand.
Absolutely. But it is nothing nice, so we can't wait for Easter to be here.
No, that's right. Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
But you've had a busy winter as well. You've had the patchworking classes. You've got lots of events coming up throughout the year, Helen.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a busy season ahead, and lots of events coming up. We had a patchwork workshop. Basically, at Cregneash, we decided to open early for Cregneash for visitors coming off season. And rather than open up the whole site in the routine way, we put walks and workshops on. Keeps the overheads down and hopefully brings a bit of income in as well. And we had a patchwork workshop a couple of weeks ago. It was really popular. It totally sold out. And the amount of positive feedback we got from it was brilliant. And the audience seemed to really engage, so we're looking at putting more of those on. Elaine is one of our members of the team at Cregneash. She ran the workshop, and she's very good at crafting. She also works with wool a lot, does spinning and dyeing and all of that kind of stuff. But the Manx patchwork as a theme was really popular, so we'd like to put them on again.
Definitely.
Put another one of them on over the summer.
But also for the children, Helen, in the summertime, the bug hunts, they were so popular last year. Will you be doing them again this time?
This year we've got a new curator of natural history, Laura McCoy, and because it's so popular, when the Manx market moves, and if it's a nice day, you had so many people coming down, it was absolutely packed at Cregneash, the last one we ran. So we're having a genuine gentle introduction, and we're doing bug hunts as part of the Little People's Picnic in the Russian Abbey this year, so that she can take a few of them out throughout the day, and hopefully it won't be too inundated. Give her a sort of gentle introduction, because it takes a lot of management when everybody turns up together. So,
but it's nice for people to actually want to take part, isn't it? And like some of these old traditional places, they're so well looked after by yourself and the teams and everything. It must be quite rewarding to see younger generations come and enjoy what you provide.
Yeah, we love to entertain the family market, and they do really love our sites, and it's a wholesome, kind of educational, hopefully quite fun way to experience the sites is through events and programming that we put on for them. Yeah.
And I hear there's big works at Castle Rushen Castle too, keeping you busy.
Yeah, that's right. So the castle is not going to open with the rest of the sites on Good Friday because we've had a bit of a delay with the works that have gone on over the winter. We're working with Organic Construction to make basically the ground floor of the castle completely accessible. And so the shop's moving into what was sort of like the reception area, and that will be totally level. And then there's a room off the shop, which is the former shop. And that's going to be an area where people can have a look around and work out if they are going to be able to get up to the top, because people can underestimate how difficult it is to get up the stairs, or even worse, down. And a lot of people would get vertigo and things like that at the top. And it's best to think about these things before you buy your ticket. You get yourself at the top and then you start to feel a bit scared or a bit sort of trapped, that you might not be, your legs might fail you on the way back down, especially after that big climb to get up. So we're just going to have an area where you can get an understanding of what's ahead of you before you buy a ticket. And then you can go out. We've got a new drawbridge that's going in. It's quite complicated. I think it was last replaced in like the 20s or sort of around that era.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah, and then in the keep itself is going to be completely accessible for wheelchairs and prams and buggies and all of that kind of thing. And we've got some new interpretation in room 1, and we've got lots of sort of flashy audio visual where you can take a tour around the castle. You can go up there. For those that can't go up, you can actually get the experience, because we're using this sort of film technology which sort of goes in and takes you around up the stairs and through the rooms. Like it's sort of like a bit like flying through them. It's just all been recorded in advance, but you can do a virtual tour without actually having to go up the stairs.
It looks like you're going to have a good year ahead. Generally, there's so much to do. Where can everyone find all the information, Helen?
If they go to our website, www.manxnationalheritage.im. We've got all of our information about the sites, but also upcoming events and things like that as well, for people to look it up themselves. Alternatively, at any of our sites, you can pick up a What's On leaflet, or at the Welcome Centre and things like that. We've got a programme of events that's just about to come out next week, I think. We've also got the museum opening for its trial run of Sunday openings on April the 1st, and that's not actually a joke. That's really, really happening.
Oh, that would be really good, because like myself, I'd only choose maybe to go on a Sunday or get a few hours, so that could work really well.
Yeah, well, we've tested it in the past and had it on the odd Sunday and opened it, and it has been quite popular, especially with like cruise ships and groups. But this is a full trial where it'll be open every Sunday, and see if there's a market there, and I'm sure there will be.
That was Cregneash site manager Helen Ashcroft.
Always good to get the public involved in events down there, aren't they? And there's something for young and old, because the nostalgia part of Cregneash, it's hard to beat, isn't it?
Oh, such a beautiful place, isn't it? And it's so well kept as well, the little cottages and the recently rethatched roofs. Oh, it's great. And people do come flocking in for the Easter events there, especially the egg roll. And the children, they've decorated them beautifully. And there's some tears and tragedies when they splat at the bottom of the hill, though.
Part and parcel of it, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, Mike Clegg is a familiar name around the village of Kirkmichael. He's heavily involved in the heritage around the area, and he's just released a book called Reapers, Clogs and Pulpits, mainly revolving around the Kelly brothers, which were situated in the village for many, many years, and their history goes back a long time, making furniture for the local churches. I caught up with them on the book launch night.
Well, they went into liquidation in 1984, but the firm itself actually started in the mid-1840s, when Daniel Neal, who was the son of the schoolmaster in Kirkmichael, became a joiner, started up, had a workshop, and it developed from there. So Daniel Kelly worked with William Corlett, and the firm later became Kelly and Sons, and finally Kelly Brothers and Kelly Brothers 1963 Limited.
How big a builder were they on the island?
They were a major builders during certainly the 60s, 50s probably as well, employing hundreds of men.
Hundreds of men?
Oh yes, they had hundreds of staff. Opened up in Douglas as well. They moved out of they stayed in Kirkmichael, what's still known as Kelly's Yard by everyone local, of course, and moved to Douglas and had large workshops on Circular Road, which became the post office, and now is Evergreen House, where Lloyd's Bank were for a while on the corner, but the original building from Kelly's has since been demolished.
We're in the wonderful Michael Church here, in the heart of the village, and this is where I suppose the pulpit side come into it with the joineries, wasn't it?
Yes. John Daniel Llewellyn Kelly, one of the sons of Daniel, came to Michael Church. He was the choir master here for some 50 years, and was very involved with the church. He wrote church music as well, which we've been playing during the afternoon, and was a wonderful craftsman. He really was a craftsman. He learnt his trade in Manchester when he worked there for a few years, and actually made the front doors of Manchester Town Hall, which he was always very proud of, and always took his grandchildren to go and have a look at. And he was very involved in everything in Kirkmichael. He was one of the first Michael commissioners as well.
Was that a trait of Kelly Brothers, making benches and joinery for churches on the island, or was it just restricted to Kirkmichael?
All over the island, and in fact in England as well.
Really?
Yes, if you go to St John Chapel in Weardale and go into the beautiful church there, you'll see the font cover, which was made by Kelly Brothers. If you go into Wesley's Chapel in London, which is a fantastic venue, then surrounding the altar, Wesley's original altar, which was actually his kitchen table, surrounding that is a fantastic screen made in Kirkmichael by Kelly Brothers. And it's a wonderful thing to see with carvings from Manx crosses on, etc. Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
all no computerised machines to do it then.
That's the amazing thing. You look at the screen that goes across the Onken Church, for instance, which is absolutely stunning, and you look at these pulpits that were made, the altars, the bishop's chairs, the furniture, all over the island. Most churches and chapels in the island have something that was made by Kelly Brothers, unbelievably. In fact, they give a lot of the Manx churches their ambience, if you like, with the type of carving that they did. Once you get your eye in, you start to recognise a Kelly Brothers bit, but of course we've only been able to identify a fraction of what they actually made. They were true craftsmen, as you say. It was all done by eye from drawings and then hand carved. There were no computer drawings. There were no electric drills and things. It was all hand carved. They're still here and still in beautiful condition 100 or more years later. It's fantastic, really.
What about the clogs side of it?
That brings in the war work. They were involved in the First World War and the Second World War. But especially in the Second World War, they were preparing the runways at Ronaldsway and Andreas and Jerby, because they weren't just wood carvers, they actually had an engineering side as well, which developed from the smithy in Kelly's Yard, and that developed into Booth Kelly Limited. Booth Kelly
from Ramsey Shipyard
was one of the same family, that's right, and then he eventually took the firm to Ramsey and developed his own side. And another branch of the family was Ambrose Kelly, who built many fine buildings in Peel. So they were a very creative family. But the clogs comes in, going back to the war, when they were employed by or contracted to the British government to produce 800 pairs of clogs a week to be sent to the camps on the island, but also sent to England. They ended up actually making 4,000 pairs of clogs a week, and we're selling a week, and we're selling them themselves. They didn't have the machinery to make clogs, so they designed and made and constructed their own special machinery for the job, which they often did. So that's where the clogs comes in, and the reapers goes right back to Daniel Kelly, to the very early days of the farm, when Daniel Kelly went to the Great Exhibition in London, saw a reaper and how they were made. He must have done some drawings, he wasn't too worried about copyright, and came back to the island and made the first reaper to be made on the Isle of Man and was exhibiting it. They took it up to the north of the island to demonstrate it, and the horses were so terrified by the noise that they had to be taken back to the stables. So and they built lots of farm machinery for sowing seeds and things like that.
So there's a real lot of history in this, and this is all captured in your book as well.
That's right. I've certainly got a snapshot of it all, and it was nice as well to get memories from people who worked at Kelly Brothers and had very fond memories of working for Kelly Brothers, which was interesting. They were obviously a really nice family firm, especially in the early days, to work for.
And I suppose it was the place around this area to go and work, was it?
It was the place, and lots of people left school on the Friday and started work at Kelly Brothers as apprentices on the Monday. In fact, I was told there was a gentleman who lived in Station Road in Kirkmichael who would often comment that if a stray dog turned up in the village, it would be offered a job at Kelly Brothers.
But that is, it's always mentioned, and as you mentioned before, the Kelly Brothers yard, it's always, nobody calls it anything different.
No, it's known as that, and it's a feature of the village, of course.
And this one thing all the book captures also is that familyness that you mentioned, and the size and the craftsmen that were involved in Kelly Brothers.
That's right, all those things, but particularly the craftsmanship that came out of the Kelly Brothers workshops. It's just unbelievable, really, when you see it, and fantastic.
Well, that really is a wonderful book, Reapers, Clogs and Pulpits, and I was talking to the author there, Mike Clegg, and it's not just what's written in that book, Kiri. The pictures are fantastic. Everyone's been in one of the churches around the Isle of Man, and Kelly Brothers from Kirkmichael been so involved up to the 80s, really, when they closed their doors. We still refer to it when you go past that old Kelly Brothers yard.
Wow.
And when they go back them hundreds of years or so, hand making them pulpits, the benches for the local churches. It's incredible how they did it.
It's unbelievable. You take it for granted when you go into a church. You just see all the lovely woodwork there, but you don't actually think who actually did it and spent the time doing it all those years ago. They didn't have Dremels and saws like we have these days, do they really?
Well, they don't have computers and lasers to cut it. That's one thing for certain. They were craftsmen. And, of course, when you think of a company like a building company on the Isle of Man, you're probably employing around 100 people maybe back, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, things like that. It's an incredible journey, that book, and it's well worth a read.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, there we are, another countryside dusted for another week, and it's great to hear Mike Clegg so enthusiastic about that book he's got out, Reapers, Clogs and Pulpits, and just about everything that was connected with the Isle of Man. You think of Kelly Brothers, those who are old enough to remember them in Kirkmichael. We still refer to it as Kelly Brothers Yard, just on the opposite the chemist there in Kirkmichael.
But it's nice how people actually are taking a moment to write it all down, and the photographs that you were saying in the book. It's absolutely essential to island life, isn't it?
Yeah, and you think of them as builders, but the work they did, when they were building them churches, the carvings they did on the pulpits and the benches, just absolutely incredible to be able to do it time after time. They were craftsmen, weren't they?
But they're as good as new even to this day, aren't they, for us to enjoy?
Yeah, proper wood, weren't they?
Absolutely.
Laura Howe as well, talking about the return of the wardens to the Calf of Man, and of course getting a sort of apprentice there with them to learn a bit with the wardens that's already out there. And it's great that the two wardens that were there last year have wanted to return as well and do another season there. So they'll have had that year's experience.
They had such a great success, didn't they? And some of the new species that were arriving on the Calf as well. But it's a nice time of year, isn't it? They're returning to the Calf. It's that spring, the element of Easter around the corner. It's quite exciting now, isn't it?
We'll get back there for the summer too, for a day. And you were at Cregneash as well, which isn't far from the Calf of Man.
Oh, Cregneash is
Yeah.
such a lovely place at this time of year with all the daffodils out, and the clocks have changed, so people just want to enjoy longer evenings, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Makes part and parcel of it, and let's just keep supporting these beautiful bits of cultural heritage that we have here on the Isle of Man. All right, we'll leave it there for this week's Countryside. We're back next week with more. So from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kiri Gummood.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.